Hey, aloha, and welcome to another extremely exciting episode of Stan the Energy Man on ThinkTech Hawaii. Again, coming to you from Pu'uwawa on the Big Island. That's basically North Kona and Blue Planet Research Facilities because they have a good internet connection. And you wouldn't want to hear me do my show from the back of my pickup truck and my hotspot on my phone. So we're going with the best technology we can. Today we have a great guest on our show. He's a real champion of sustainability and clean energy on the Big Island. And fortunately, he's in a position where he can hopefully make some of that stuff happen here on the Big Island of Hawaii. It's Councilman Tim Richards, who you're what, Kohala, Waimea? What's your
North-South
district?
Kohala,
South Kohala.
North-South Kohala,
Okay.
which is District 9, North Kohala, then down the coastline, Kawaihae, Mauna Kea Resort, Mauna Lani Resort, Waikoloa Village, Waikiki Ranch, and then Waimea.
Wow, some of the best parts of the Big Island. You've got the
I
cherry.
agree, but I agree.
Well, anyway, thanks for being on this show, Councilman. And you know, we've had you on before, probably a little over a year ago, and we talked a little bit then. But things have been changing, and of course, right now we're all locked down with masks and everything else for the coronavirus. But I know that there's a lot going on in sustainable agriculture and sustainable energy. And it seems like it's starting to actually pick up some momentum on the Big Island. I know that we had Mitch Ewan and Riley Saito do a presentation at the county council on the hydrogen buses, and it seemed like that got a lot of attention from the council, and they were pretty supportive of it. But I haven't followed up on it since then. So, do you have any updates on what's going on with them? I know that they're looking at delivering the buses probably within the next 60 days, and the station is pretty much ready to run except for a fire inspection.
Right. So. And long story short, we were pushing hard and getting that teed up for delivery and implementation right about the time COVID-19 hit. And so, like everything, things have been delayed. The conversations are all positive, meaning we want to get this thing done. And we have the hydrogen on island. We have mass transit that wants to embrace it. Now we just have to put the final few pieces together. And there's some administrative things that we had to get through, had to do with specific ownership of the bus and if it was transferred. And the county is very particular about some of the paperwork, but we're right there to roll these things out.
Okay, great. Well, that's one good news story that I'm hoping will catch on here. But I just finished talking to the guy doing my contracting this morning out at my property. And we both happened to notice that there seems to be some upsides to some of the coronavirus. And the one upside he noted is a lot of his friends and neighbors are growing their own vegetables and stuff in their garden now instead of going to the store. They're actually kind of getting the sustainability bug, as it were, and realizing that you can do a lot more on your own and get some, vegetables growing in what they used to call a victory garden, and take care of yourself. Are you seeing that a lot out in your area?
Yeah, there's been a real uptick in agriculture within our county, within our state, but focusing on our county. And I think, Stan, you and I have discussed this previously. Our county needs, if we use national numbers, which is about 5 pounds of food per person per day, and that's not what we actually consume, but that's what we put on the kitchen table before we start cooking or whatever. So if we use that number 5 pounds, we have 200,000 people here. That means that's 1 million pounds of food a day that this island goes through. And, to your point, yeah, a lot of people have said, well, I'm ordered to stay at home. Maybe I can plant something. And so we've actually seen quite the uptick on that of people planting gardens. That's solving two things. First of all, I think it's creating an area of food rearing that we haven't had a whole lot of in the past. We have farmers, yes, but we don't have people doing it at home. One of the things that I like about it, quite frankly, is the fact that people are learning that agriculture isn't as simple and as easy as we want to think it is. And so I think what is happening, people are developing a real appreciation for our farmers and our ranchers that produce this day in, day out, week in, week out, continually, which helps support us. And then with that understanding, and this is the selfish side of me, I chair Ag, Water, Energy, and Environmental Management, the county. If we have better understanding of agriculture, I think we're going to get better public policy going forward for agriculture. And so it's, yes, people are learning how to grow food, but as important, if not more important, they're getting a better appreciation of what it takes to grow food. And you can plant and go 6, 8 weeks, whatever the turnaround time is, before you start to harvest. And understanding that in the grocery store, that supply every day, that means we have this program backlog of plants in different stages of their growth throughout the cycle to get that food to that grocery store. So I'm thinking we're probably having a reawakening of appreciation for agriculture.
Yeah, and I forget where I heard this, but somebody was on the news or on the computer talking about agriculture in Hawaii, and they said, well, it's not like we grow corn here or anything. And I went, well, wait a minute, don't they grow a lot of seed corn on Kauai and I think maybe even Maui? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, it was Oahu and Kauai, and
Okay.
seed corn production has dropped. And what it is, it's the real interesting. That's where they do a lot of the genetic work and hybriding the corn. And that is, a lot of that is the corn, the seed corn for planting the seed corn for the nation. And so this is a very valuable crop. But we don't grow a whole lot of corn for consumption, though I know right here in Lalamila farm lots, we've got some corn crops coming up for the sweet corn.
I always look forward to the corn from Waimanalo that we get on Honolulu's side is really great. I look forward to driving through on the way to the beach and picking up a bag of really sweet Waimanalo corn. So there's nothing like fresh produce, and I think I was fortunate in the military to spend some time in Sacramento, California, and they had farmers markets all the time that were pretty robust. I mean, they had guinea fowl and chickens and rabbits and strawberries and oranges and anything you could think of. And it was really neat to go someplace and for a really, really good price and to support local economy, you're getting exceptionally good food. And I think people just don't really appreciate that. I know Waimea has a great open market. I've been there. And the local vendors are really great and the produce is really great. So is that something that you're trying to champion as well and get more folks involved in?
We have a couple of farmers markets here, and they're actually doing quite well. What we need to do is expand first of all, the interest in agriculture. And right now everybody wants to be an expert in agriculture. What it takes is education to start with, and this goes back probably 6 or 8 years. We started working. I sat on the Ag Advisory Commission for the county, and we started working on the Future Farmers of America, FFA. And at one time, I think back when I was in high school, there were something like 28 chapters statewide. We got down to as little as 4 chapters. And I think right now we're up to about 8 or 9. And what it takes is we as a community, as a society, have to support that going forward, because out of that program, we train people about agriculture. But as important, it teaches leadership, and it also teaches good public policy. So that's where I've been working on is, again, we have to have the next generation of farmers and ranchers coming up. And I think FFA is one. It's not the only one, but it is one methodology that we can use. And it's got a great national support structure. So we don't have to reinvent something. So that's one thing I've been working on. The other thing is we have to have, like I said, good policy going forward. And this is where it gets a little fuzzy, Stan, between the county and the state and land policy and water policy and all that. And the reality is it's all of us. And so working with the state elected officials, as well as our federal elected officials, and trying to have good public policy coming forward. For agriculture in our county, we need to have land availability, we need to have water availability. And one thing that's kind of front and center right now is transportation. We can grow things, but if we can't sell them, there's no value in there. And you know what I mean by that, meaning if no one can pay for it, it doesn't have value. You know, we were going through some tough times right at the onset of the COVID, and we weren't starving, but the shelves were getting a little slim as far as what we're getting through. I was talking to a friend who's in agriculture in Florida, and he said, "You'd not believe how many thousands of acres we just turned the crop under because we couldn't get it to market." Well, that's all transportation. And
Yeah.
one of the things we've been facing here is our transportation. We all know that Young Brothers is in trouble right now. And
Right.
I started down that road, speaking on behalf of agriculture as far as tariffs and all that. But then COVID hit, and so that whole conversation has shifted. For us to be successful for agriculture, we're going to need transportation. And so regardless of personal feelings, we need to keep Young Brothers functioning well now, at least for the next 6 or 8 months, and go to the table and figure out how we're going to sort this out. So there's a lot of different facets of agriculture.
Sure. Well, the Young Brothers folks are regulated by the Public Utilities Commission,
Correct.
just like the electric company and gas company and so many other industries. But the PUC seems to move at a glacial pace at times. So how do we react during a kind of an acute crisis like this with Young Brothers when so much of what they have to go through deals with Public Utilities Commission and that process?
I think we collectively, I speak out publicly in support of Young Brothers going forward. And, you know, we have people on both sides of the issue. They haven't been managed well. We should just let them go away. Other people, we need to fully support them. Right now, if we want to have an economy of any magnitude, of any function, we need intrastate shipping. And a couple of years ago, the waters of Hawaii, it was actually July 2018, were designated the Daniel Akaka Marine Highway. And this is a federal program where there may be some federal funding available right now with the COVID-19, that's up in the air. But if we can find funding for them to go forward, and I'm coming at it again for a little bit selfish side for agriculture. If we can help support agriculture, we're going to strive towards that food self-reliance, the food security. And by the way, we're going to take care of our economy along the way. So, and I know this is an energy program, Stan, but that ties into our energy production because we need the energy. And you and I have talked about my ag, water, energy, food nexus before. This is all where it starts dovetailing together.
Yes, you're exactly right. And in fact, I was talking to some other folks, as you know, I'm kind of bullish on hydrogen.
Right.
It's interesting that one of the ways that we make hydrogen available to transport is to make it denser. Instead of trying to compress it in cylinders in a gaseous form, you can either make liquid hydrogen or you can make ammonia. But ammonia is good on the agricultural side. It's part of the fertilizer chain. So it would seem to me that there's a kind of a symbiotic relationship between an inexpensive or a good way to ship hydrogen, like from here to Oahu. If you could make a lot of hydrogen here and ship it to Oahu, Oahu could be using that ammonia to run run fuel cells that produce electricity, baseload electricity that Hawaiian Electric needs. That's from a renewable source to help them get to their 2045 goal. So I think a lot of people, when they think about solutions, like the solution to the grid, renewable energy on the grid problem that we're struggling with, and the transportation piece, they're not looking far enough. Like you say, there's an agriculture piece, and a lot of times there's a hospital piece for medical grade oxygen that you get when you make green hydrogen. So there's these other things that come when you look at the entire spectrum of the technology that And that's why I find hydrogen so important in this whole picture, because it kind of fits in that multifunctional role that sustainability builds on.
I completely agree with you. And for us going forward, Stan, you pointed out that these things are all interrelated. And if we start trying to work on a problem while not recognizing that we can actually address several problems, if we look at them and figure out how they go together, we'll become far more efficient. This is what frustrates me sometimes with this councilman position. We do what I term silo legislation, where we focus on a job and we try and figure out how to fix that just in and itself, rather than figuring out how it stacks up with everything else and seeing some of the synergies. And to your point, for the County of Hawaii, we have a phenomenal portfolio of potential renewable. We have photovoltaic, we have wind, we have hydro, we have geothermal potential. And then with all of that, obviously storage is an issue. If we don't have a way of storing it, then we're going to be a little bit hamstrung. But let's look at hydrogen. Is that a way of storing energy, or multitasking that hydrogen for vehicles? We talked about the hydrogen buses. Or like you said, what if we started exporting a lot of this hydrogen to other municipalities? Oahu obviously being the closest. Well, that comes back to the transportation conversation that I mentioned previously. We have to have a market, and the only way we get that is through transportation. But then if we're taking care of our energy needs while we're taking care, and by the way, we can transport our commodities from the farm, we again start seeking that synergy. We'll also start creating the economy, because we're going to have to retool this economy. I firmly believe, and you've heard me say this for years now, that agriculture can be a big portion of that. Now, when I say a big portion, what I'm talking about is it's a relative thing. Our agriculture for our state only generates about 1% of our economy. The paradox is that without agriculture, we literally as society
we wouldn't
starves
have an
to death.
economy. Yeah.
And so we have to pay attention. It is a lot more valuable than just the dollars and cents. Energy can play a role in this as well, because we can get that synergy between all of that and the value adding for agriculture from energy that we can generate from a renewable side. There's a lot before us right now. We just have to take this step forward, and it's going to take a little bit of courage, because we have to change some of our thinking, but this is the time, and that's why I'm so excited about it.
Well, Councilman, we're going to take a quick break here and look at some other ThinkTech programs, and then we'll be back in 60 seconds. And I want to kind of tap on to that agriculture and economic piece. I think there's some important strings there to pull.
Sounds good.
Aloha, I'm Christine Linders, a physical therapy specialist and the host of Movement Matters. My show is designed to teach you the simplest and most effective treatment strategies to get you out of pain and back to doing what you love. If you or someone you know is having pain in a certain area of the body and would like a free assessment in treatment over media or in person, and then come on the show to talk about it, email us at thinktechmovementmatters@gmail.com. Or if you have a topic you would like to know more about, please email us. My goal is to decrease pain all over the world, inspiring people to take better care of their bodies, to enjoy life to the fullest. I look forward to hearing from you.
Hey, hello, and welcome back to Stan the Energy Man. I'm talking to County Councilman Tim Richards from the Big Island. He covers the north end of the Big Island with all the beautiful hotels and the beautiful farm and ranch land that we have here in Hawaii. And we were talking a little bit about agriculture, and I wanted to pull another string, and that's the economic string. You know, Hawaii makes most of their electricity, especially on Oahu, burning fossil fuel or burning rubbish or burning coal, believe it or not.
Yep.
And what we need to be doing in our state is taking advantage of the things that the councilman mentioned before, solar power, wind power. My particular favorite is hydroelectric, which here on the Big Island, I think is underappreciated. And on Oahu, I want to know what happened to all the sugarcane and pineapple flumes that we've had for almost 100 years on Oahu that aren't being used to generate electricity. And then there's geothermal, which comes with, I would say, a little bit of baggage in our state, but certainly with modern technology and some examples like Iceland to follow, there's no reason why we couldn't probably do geothermal in a culturally and environmentally friendly way. And those renewable energy assets in transportation and in power generation could actually make Hawaii capable of exporting energy in the form of liquid hydrogen or ammonia. And that would make such a huge impact on our economy. You know, back when I was younger, Hawaii had what we call a three-legged stool for our economy. We had tourism, we had agriculture and sugarcane and pineapple, and we had the military. And right now, we pretty much don't have agriculture as an economic leg. We only have military and tourism. And the COVID pointed out pretty boldly that if you don't have tourism and you just have the military, you're kind of getting to what we call something out of luck. And, you know, it's not good. So Hawaii needs to really start focusing on the economics that we should be able to do, agriculture being one of them. When you can't get food to the state and you have a full capability of producing most of it here anyway, the wake-up call comes. And I think COVID kind of helped with that wake-up call. But what are your thoughts on those kind of things, Councilman?
You just covered the breadth of my concerns and also my excitement going forward. Big Island, our economy, and this was before the lava event, we had about $8.5 billion economy. It's just about 1/10 of the state economy. During the whole lava event, we lost about $1 billion out of that economy. Our agriculture, like I said, is about not quite 1% of our state economy, but that's national the same way. Even California, the great agriculture state, is only approaching 2%. But there's more value there than just the dollars and cents that it generated when we talked about that. And if we do value added for our agriculture, that comes with, and I'm going to use the term manufacturing or processing, whatever the case may be, that's going to take energy. We start creating an economy in and itself. We create employment. We create a export product, whether it be ready to microwave vegetables or pre-cooked meats or whatever the case may be. We start creating all of that, which starts building an economy in and itself. And those are dollars that stay in our county and start generating for themselves. We start with that. Part of that is what you mentioned about the energy, because there's the energy component. We can't do any of this without the energy. And why should we burn fossil fuel when we have this portfolio before us? I know there's 2 hydro plants on the Hilo side that are waiting to get the final approval for their water license, and that's stalled in government right now. This is probably the most non-impactful use of water yet, because it's out of the river, through the turbine, back in the river. We're not even using it for irrigation, but we can use that energy. And as you mentioned, the geothermal, the technology of 25 years ago is very different than what we have today. And I think some may get a little hung up in the old technologies. We've evolved. And as I mentioned, by putting these together, we start creating the economy for Hawaii Island, for our county, which then we start being able to develop the tax basis that will start affording us the things that we need for our society. And I've long believed that we don't increase taxes. What we do is we increase our economy, and just the economy churning in and itself will start to function and start paying back and I don't want to use the term dividend, but it'll start paying the resources that we need to take care of the community as a whole while creating jobs. And so I think this is our future, and this is the time to get this done. One of our problems right now is we have no money, meaning there's not a lot of funding coming from anywhere. The state has cut our county appropriations substantially, right in line with, I'm going to say probably a national average, somewhere between 15 and 20% of the income stream coming in. Most municipalities has been cut. Our state is no different. That 2.3 billion out of 15.5 billion. So looking forward, what I think we're going to have to see is some job projects reminiscent of the CCC days of the 1930s, Tennessee Valley Authority, things like that. And I believe that we're going to have to do something on a national level. And they are working on legislation so the funding will come directly to the county and not have to go through the state. And if we do that, then I think we can start getting after some of these projects that will have construction, thereby have jobs, and start building towards our future of energy self-reliance, and thereby striving towards food self-reliance. So I think, again, by putting these things together, I am excited. However, this is going to take quite a paradigm shift to get everybody on board. But I think if we stop and think about the direction, we're going to create that economy, we're going to create those jobs, and thereby be able to better take care of our people here in Hawaii Island itself.
Well, I'm going to pose it back to you that government is not known for paradigm shifting, at least not from my experience. So what do we do? What do we do to, you mentioned about the waiting for the discharge permits for your hydroelectric systems. You're, like you say, you're taking water out of a stream, you're running it through a turbine, which doesn't do anything but maybe heat at 1 degree, if that, and put it back in the same stream. And yet you go through months and months of environmental protection, discharge permit, processing. And, I can tell you too, that I'm in the middle of doing a construction project, and I have to go through the State Historic Preservation Office, which is shut down right now because of the COVID. People are working out of their homes. So other than I have a log number of what I'm supposed to do, I can't talk to anybody in there because nobody answers their phone or their emails. And so my construction project will not start until that piece is taken care of. And the funny thing there is, in order to do the job, you need, credentials as a archaeological engineer or architect. And not too many people get those degrees because the jobs that are out there don't pay enough. So we have like maybe 4 of them in the state, and half the positions are empty and they can't fill them, which makes it even worse. So, I mean, how on God's green earth do we get around some of this stuff? And
I think, first of all, you're going to have leadership, that people that have the energy to go after it. And then the public has to stand up and support things, not just speak up when they don't like something. You have to speak up when you like something and you want the direction. Our state is calling for renewable energy by 2045, but then the public has to support going in that direction. So speak up and say things. And Grant, we're going to run into problems, but we have to move forward. Otherwise, we're never going to make it. But I'm confident we will. I'm from agriculture. I'm always optimistic.
Well, I am too. And that's going to do it for our 30 minutes today, Tim. And I appreciate you taking the time, especially short notice, to be on the show. But thank you so much for the work that you do in the state and for the county, especially in the agriculture side, because I think agriculture and energy go hand in hand, and we need to start looking for those solutions. But give my best to your family, and good luck this year, and keep on plugging away. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Stan. Aloha, everyone. Appreciate the conversation. Always enjoy it, Stan. Aloha.
All right, take care. Aloha. And that'll do it for Stan the Energy Man this week, and we'll catch you next Tuesday. And by the way, this is my 5th year anniversary on ThinkTech Hawaii, every week for 5 years. So thanks to everybody for watching out there. Aloha.